Now, from Southwest Florida's most trusted news, this is Wink News This Morning.
Welcome to our very special 9 a.m. hour, our back to school special, Making the Grade. I'm Corey Lazar.
And I'm Lindsay Sablon. Next week, it is a big one. Yeah. All districts in Southwest Florida are heading back to class on August 10th. And while that's exciting, trust us when we say it, we know getting back into that routine, or maybe for your child starting a new school, it can be overwhelming.
Good for us parents, but our kids, they get very stressed about it. So this next hour, we're dedicating to helping you prepare and cover what is new in the school system.
And one of the biggest changes is a new weapons detection system that Lee Schools is rolling out. Here's a look at that new technology that's going to be up and running at 16 schools by the time the first day of school rolls around. Wink News reporter Emma Heaton got a look at how it works.
Students, parents, and teachers should feel safe knowing there are no guns on campus. Lee County Schools says it's got the technology to make them safe. This is the sound of what the Lee County School District calls the latest and greatest way to keep guns and knives out of schools. This is the new weapon detection system students will have to pass through to get into school. Let's say I have a laptop in my bag. If I walk through, it turns red and beeps. So I'll go back, hand my laptop to a staff member. I can walk through and get the green light. Items like that umbrella and those Chromebooks that have the same density as a weapon will set the detector off.
We don't want that or contraband get into our schools.
But what about people? Chief David Newland is Lee County Schools Director of Safety, Security, and Emergency Management. He did not answer questions publicly after a homeless man squeezed through security bars and walked right through an unlocked door into Fort Myers High in May. That man spent 6 hours inside and no one noticed. Because on that same night the door was left open, no one set the security alarm. The district blamed human error.
So as far as that accountability aspect, who would be accountable if something were to happen, God forbid?
So it starts with the school district and obviously our employees, but it's hard to answer your question based on what happened. All I can tell you is that there's always humility. No matter what you do, there's never a guarantee.
Accountability starts with the parents too.
And there will be 16 schools in the Lee County School District that will have that ready to go on the first day. The district tells us that all 90 schools, including the elementary, middle, and high schools, should have them by the end of 2024.
Well, in one corner, we have Congressman Byron Donalds and the other, Governor Ron DeSantis. And an issue here is Florida's new African-American history standards in the classroom. And this became a huge issue when Wink News reporter Claire Galt, in an exclusive interview, asked Donalds about that curriculum. And Donald's answer set off a political firestorm.
Ron DeSantis didn't lose his temper, but he didn't hide his anger either.
Hey, you got to choose. Are you going to side with Kamala Harris and liberal media outlets? Or are you going to side with the state of Florida?
The Florida Republican governor didn't hesitate to call out Florida's most prominent African-American congressman on the state's new African-American history standards.
So don't side with Kamala on that. Stand up for your state.
The curriculum is well over 200 pages long, but Congressman Byron Donalds says one guidepost needs some adjustment. Middle schoolers will be taught, quote, how slaves develop skills which in some instances could be applied for their personal benefit. Donalds told me Tuesday.
Obviously, slavery was terrible in our country. It was terrible for Black people coming to America, and it was just flat out wrong, no doubt about that.
But the congressman said he's read the entire curriculum, and except for that one guidepost,
did a very good job in covering all aspects of Black history in the United States.
DeSantis challenged a reporter when a reporter asked him directly, were there beneficial aspects to slavery?
Have you read it? You haven't. But you haven't read it, so I'm just making that clear.
Former President Trump released a statement in support of Donalds, calling him a conservative hero, and for the DeSantis' presidential campaign, to attempt to smear Donalds is a disgrace.
To accuse Byron Donalds of being a mouthpiece for the White House is as absolutely ridiculous as putting in a line into your educational curriculum that says, yeah, slavery was bad, but some people learned some things.
Trey Radel, a former Republican United States congressman from Florida and current host on 92.5 Fox News Radio, told me this isn't a matter of politics, it's a matter of humanity.
And to watch these campaigns now kind of go back and forth on it is pretty gross.
Claire Galt, Wink News.
And DeSantis and Donalds may be Republicans, but they may have a lot of friction now in their relationship. The congressman believes the governor should not have run for president in the first place, saying in April President Trump is the only leader who can get us back on track, provide strength and resolve, and make America great again. But of course, our classrooms are now in the middle of this political firestorm. Meantime, short. That's the operative word for the teaching staff in the Lee County School District.
The 2023-24 school year starts at a deficit yet again. There are just too many students and not enough teachers. Wink News reporter Asha Patel takes a look at the teacher shortage and what it means for our children.
In less than a week, students will be walking down these halls. Parents and teachers will have that early morning scramble of getting themselves and their child out the door. But as the first day of school approaches, the Lee County School District is not fully staffed. And because of that, Chanel Monaghan will have a different school year.
I am actually the intermediate ESC resource teacher, and because we are short-staffed teachers, I will be filling in teaching fourth grade science until they hire someone.
A change she doesn't see as ideal, but is a team player.
How do you feel about that?
I would like to do my job, but I understand, and I'll do what we need to do to make sure the kids have every teacher for a classroom. But yeah, I would like to be focusing on my position more.
The school district still has 316 instructional openings. Monaghan says it's tough to navigate to not only a new grade, but an entirely new subject.
The curriculum, learning the curriculum for the science and knowing the science curriculum and everything like that, that's going to be new to me because I've not taught the science. So it's going to be a new challenge for me to learn it all and deliver it to the kids.
And that's not the only challenge teachers in the Lee County School District are faced with.
The last couple years, there's been like a shift that we've felt as teachers, and in some way, personally, in like security-wise.
Inez Simmons, a kindergarten teacher, says things have changed over the last few years, but the pay has really been taking a toll, especially when it comes to getting resources for her classroom.
When I moved into this classroom, I had like 2-3 loads of things of my own that I've had to carry along with me, and thankfully the school, actually there's a couple programs that you can get where you can give help from the school, which I use, and it's fantastic. And also, actually, one of my cousins was like, why don't you get one of those like Amazon things where you can get help and stuff. I actually never done it, but I might have to do that and think about that to get more of those resources.
But throughout it all, Monaghan and Simmons are ready to conquer the challenges for this school year.
I'm very excited.
Oh my goodness, I'm very excited to be back in class and be here with the kids.
School starts in all 3 districts August 10th in Lee County. Asha Patel, Wink News.
Hats off to our teachers, though, and let's put the teacher shortage into perspective for you. So as of today, there are 316 vacant teaching positions in the Lee County School District. Now you see here in 2022, there were 200 openings on the first day of school, and then in 2021, there were 132 teacher vacancies on the first day. So you've seen them just go up year by year. The county has held several hiring fairs for teachers and has had recruiting events outside the county as well.
And there are shortages when it comes to bus drivers too, causing late bus pickups, a faulty Where's a Bus app, and a lot of frustration. That's what many Lee County parents dealt with last school year. The school district heard you, though, they say. They've changed bus routes, reducing total miles driven from more than 63,000 a day down to about 50,000 miles a day. And they're working to have enough bus drivers, saying they're in a better spot now than this time last year.
Once we get rolling, we'll see how our projections are, but we know it's going to be better. We know our families will experience more on-time pickups, more on-time deliveries because of the changes already. We just need to see how it all plays out.
The district says they have a driver for every route, but need more substitutes. Right now, the school district has about 50 bus driver spots to fill, who would make $17.50 an hour. As for the Where's the Bus app, Rob Spicker with the district says the problem is if there's a substitute bus driver, there's no way to track that bus with the app. But he says it remains the best option available.
All right, Rachel, thank you. And from the classroom to cashing a paycheck, the new Charlotte County Public Schools superintendent has a plan for students that doesn't always include college. Wink News anchor Taylor Petrus sat down with Mark Vianello to talk about his right to work focus.
First of all, welcome to Charlotte County.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
After the welcome comes the work. First order of business for Charlotte County Public Schools' new superintendent, Mark Vianello, and the school board pass its largest budget ever, $512 million. Up next, develop a new strategic plan for the next 5 years.
Any ideas what you want Charlotte County Schools to look like in the next 5 years yet?
Well, want to make sure that we're meeting the workforce and economic development needs of the community, of the region, and the state, and making sure that our students are leaving with the skills and abilities to be successful.
To make that happen, Vianello told me one of his top priorities is making sure every student graduates with a plan, whether it be education, enlistment, or a trend that Vianello hopes to see continue, employment.
We have to be relevant to our students. We have to be relevant to our community as well. And if we're going to invest those types of tax dollars into our school system, then our students should be leaving with good job opportunities and a plan for what's next for them.
Vianello pointed to the district's new aviation maintenance program at Charlotte Technical College as an example.
And that is a wonderful program that started last year. We had 14 graduates, 12 of which went on at this point and already have secured jobs, not only locally but also around the country as well. And so we'll be having conversations, evaluating our programs, making sure that our programs are relevant.
Another part of that strategic plan he's working on, recruiting and retaining teachers. But Vianello is taking over a school district that pays educators pretty well. The district's $54,000 a year starting salary is better than Lee and Collier's, and still, Charlotte County Schools has some openings.
The goal is to make sure that every classroom has a highly qualified teacher in front of our students, and we're getting close to reaching that goal. We're not there yet.
Boy, that is a challenge, is filling all these teacher positions. So in Charlotte County specifically, how many openings do they have right now?
So right now they have 20 open teacher positions. They're doing far better than we saw Lee and Collier County too. And Vianello told me they're going to get input from teachers, students, and parents to come up with their best priorities for that 5-year strategic plan he was talking about, and the goal is to have that in place by the end of the semester. I also asked Vianello about the new African American history standards. He said his team will be going to next week's training to get more guidance on that curriculum.
And it's a smaller district too for him to manage for those teacher positions. All right, Taylor, thank you.
Meantime, for 8 years, Dr. Leslie Riccadelli has held some kind of leadership position in Collier County schools, but now she is the top dog. So we asked her what parents and students should look out for this school year.
Highly engaged faculty, highly engaged administrators, as much support from the district as they possibly need.
Dr. Riccadelli said it's critical to keep teachers and students excited, and the best way to do that is to give them the best. And in Lee County, Dr. Christopher Bernier is heading into his 2nd year as the superintendent there.
A middle school student attacked just hours after her family warned staff about that girl's safety.
She promised me she was in good hands. And that day, this all happened.
Coming up, that family's frustrations and the district's response.
Trouble in the classroom and violence in the halls. A Wink News exclusive investigation uncovered serious issues in one Lee County community.
Investigative reporter Peter Fleischer sits down with one family who has experienced those struggles firsthand.
Yeah, she did. Whether she's showing off artwork or describing her personality, Danielle Kicker gets a big smile on her face when asked to describe her daughter. Patricia isn't her daughter's real name, but will use it to protect her privacy.
She loves everybody. She has the biggest heart. She doesn't like it when people are upset around her.
Madonna Lewis, Patricia's grandmother, does the same when she thinks about her granddaughter starting school in Lehigh Acres barely 2 years ago.
Yeah, she was so excited. You know, of course it's scary, a new school, but she was so excited.
Patricia was a 6th grade student at Veterans Park Academy earlier this year when she started to try to avoid going to school. Her family realized she was being bullied and began to fear for her safety. Eventually, at her breaking point, Kicker says she went to the school herself and spoke with an administrator.
And I said, this bullying has to stop. This little girl doesn't want to come to school. This little girl is scared to come to school. She promised me she was in good hands. And that day, this all happened.
12-year-old Patricia was not in good hands. Police paperwork confirms her mom talked to the principal just hours before her daughter was assaulted in a bathroom in front of a crowd of other students.
Nobody protected her. No one did. I mean, how can you hear all that noise and see all those children running? Where are the adults? Where are the adults here?
We are ready to begin this evening's board meeting.
The district school board member for Lehigh Acres, Armour Persons, knows about the attack on Patricia. While he couldn't explain why she wasn't protected that day, he says school employees are going through new training this summer to identify and handle disruptive situations.
All the administrations learning how to make sure everything is reported, from bullying to everything else. If there needs to be more faculty put toward the issue or more training or whatever, then that's what we do. That's our job.
But that new training does not help with damage that's already been done. Patricia came home battered, and her family is heartbroken.
It was horrible. I mean, you didn't know what to do. You didn't know how to take the pain away. It is absolutely the worst thing I've ever had to go through.
Patricia left Veterans after the January attack, but students at her new school had seen the viral video and began bullying her too.
They turned their backs on her, so she had no one.
Eventually, she left Florida to live with extended family in Missouri.
The Lee County school districts fail.
Patricia's attack is one of dozens of fights Wink News observed on social media in recent months, nearly all of them from schools located in Lehigh Acres. We even found several social media pages dedicated solely to posting fights. Persons has seen the fight videos and the pages. He wants to stop the problem at its source.
I personally think there should be no cell phones in school. It is a problem, and parents seem to be very reluctant to give up the cell phones. I think the cell phones should be taken when the kids arrive at school.
The videos from this past year seem to show Lehigh schools that struggle with disciplinary issues where violent incidents are common. Crime, violence, and disruptive behaviors in public schools are tracked using the School Environmental Safety Incident Reporting System, or SESR. There are 26 different types of SESR incidents graded from level 1, the most serious, to level 4, the least serious. Offenses range from battery and sexual assault to simple harassment, but all represent serious breaches of the student code of conduct. I sorted through the most recent available data for the 2021-22 school year and found that on average, Lehigh schools dealt with double the SESR incidents that other Lee County schools did. Of the Lehigh incidents, 170 were physical attacks, making up nearly 18% of the data.
The East Zone in general has kind of been the stepchild, and people have said that.
Gwen Gittens is the former school board rep for the Lehigh area. She taught there for years and still lives there now. She's seen the rise in disciplinary issues and has ideas about what's fueling them.
If Johnny can't read, he's going to act up. Because if he doesn't understand, he does not want to be embarrassed. He does not want to be called out. Discipline, achievement, academic is hand in hand.
Persons agrees and says the district is trying to correct Lehigh's shortcomings.
There are differences. The amount of money that was spent in the Lehigh district over the years has been lacking, to say the least. The Lehigh area is probably the fastest growing area in Lee County. You're playing catch up, so once that stops, I think we're on the road to that. I think things will even out much better.
If behavioral issues are fueled by struggles in the classroom, data could help explain some issues in Lehigh. I went through numbers for 4 standardized tests from the most recent data available. Out of every school located in Lehigh Acres, only 1 scored above Lee School's average in mean scale score, or level 3 achievement.
The impression that the East Zone is the bottom of the barrel for educators has got to be fixed. That is the part that the district needs to do.
Meanwhile, Patricia is supposed to start 7th grade in the fall. Her family is still not sure where she'll go to school.
I have to ensure her that I have to find a safe place for her to feel safe every day. I just want her to come home. I want her to have a safe place to come.
Something no young child should ever have to worry about. Reporting in Lehigh Acres, investigative reporter Peter Fleischer, Wink News.
All right, Peter, thank you. And Lee Schools is not the only district that struggles with bullying. For bullying resources in Lee, Charlotte, and Collier counties, head to winknews.com and click on this story.
Sanibel Elementary beats the odds and makes a comeback after facing Hurricane Ian's wrath.
After the hurricane, we just kind of didn't know what school was going to be like.
Up ahead, as the Island School returns home, the other elementaries that are still without a building as we head into this new school year. Not all children get to be back in their school this school year. 2 of Lee County's 119 schools are in the process of rebuilding after Hurricane Ian. Crews have started to work on Fort Myers Beach Elementary. It was a long fight to keep the Island School, but families eventually won. The hope is to have students back there by November. For now, they're going to school at San Carlos Park Elementary. Also, students in Hector A. Cofferata Elementary School in Cape Coral are still in portable units, and this is why. We got a look in the school back in December showing it's a shell. Look at that, after Hurricane Ian. The board okayed tearing it down and building a new K-8 building a few miles away on Northwest 20th Avenue. And quite possibly the biggest shocker, Sanibel Schools is ready to go. We got this video when students returned there in February. You can see in some of the video repairs weren't quite done. You see missing ceiling tiles and walls unpainted. But that did not matter to the teachers and students who longed for some kind of normalcy after the hurricane devastated their island.
It's like my home. I mean, my dad went here for when he was a kid. He went here all the way through elementary school because they didn't have a middle school back then. And I've been here for 8 years now.
I'm just elated. This is the school that I went to when I was a child, growing up on Sanibel. And so I'm just filled with joy. And for perspective, when they went back in February, 5 months after the hurricane, one little boy said it was his 4th school that year. So I'm sure they're glad to be back at home. Yeah. Before we head to break, you are going to be able to watch this special again online.
Look, us parents were busy. We got to go here and there. So if you want to sit down later on and watch it in its entirety, you can go to winknews.com. We'll be right back. Welcome back to our Back to School special on this Friday morning, Making the Grade. You know, as parents, we're gearing up for another year of school for our children. I'm Corey Lazar.
And I'm Lindsay Sablon. A lot of us saying yay, right? Yes. Schools in Lee, Collier, Charlotte, Hendry, Glades, and DeSoto counties all head back next week, August 10th. From what to start doing this weekend to get your kids ready to new changes, we're here this morning to help you out.
And so first, the Lee County School District will search your kid's phone if there's a question about safety and security. So this rule is really spelled out in the Student Code of Conduct.
But what is not clear is how deep the district and local law enforcement can go into the phone, and more importantly, what they can do with the data they find. Data you and your kids may not have known was even there. Wink News investigative reporter Celine MacArthur shows you how the phone's cache can be used to convict your child of a crime.
Many of you have a lot of cash in your pocket and you don't even know it. We're not talking about your money. We're talking about content stored deep in your smartphone. Cybersecurity experts say the cache collects snippets of data from different websites and apps on your phone. Anything that loads onto a page, even if you scroll right by it. Now that allows websites and apps to load faster, but that information can still be used to judge you. That's what happened to Lee County 5th grader Daniel Marquez. We're sharing this story to help you better protect your kids.
The court finds beyond a reasonable doubt that the youth did make a threat to conduct a mass shooting.
A confusing and devastating verdict for 11-year-old Daniel Marquez and his family.
Again, I'm not an attorney, I don't understand the law. It just showed how much I don't know the law.
When Daniel was 10 and a 5th grader at Patriot Elementary School, he sent a friend private texts he described under oath as a joke about a scam involving money and guns, followed by a reference to a school event.
So the punchline of your joke was it that the firearms, that was the punchline?
No, it was that I scammed someone.
Okay, so but what made the flyer, or what made it funny?
That it was expensive because I scammed my friend for a lot of money.
Prosecutor Scott Miller argued Daniel's texts were really a threat inspired by the mass school shooting in Uvalde, and the texts alone were enough to convict. Fast forward 400 days. Miller presents something new. Images from news coverage of Uvalde and Parkland, he says, were found in the cache on Daniel's phone. But are these cached images of violent school shootings the smoking gun?
It absolutely goes to his state of mind because these images were on his phone.
Cached images. The sheriff's office digital forensic expert admitted she couldn't determine if Daniel ever saw.
So that just means they were at some point on the phone, but not necessarily kept by Ms. Marquez. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. Do you know if these can these come up from news alerts on apps, or do they have to be individually accessed by the defendant?
No, they can come up from almost anything. These specifically, I believe, were YouTube and Google. Just Google. I don't want to say Google searches, but just a Google page.
I'm shocked that any of this so-called evidence that was presented would lead anyone to believe that beyond a reasonable doubt, that's the judge's words, this kid was guilty. Because there's no hard evidence of any of that.
Cybersecurity expert Craig Peterson isn't involved in the case, but watched the trial, evaluated the evidence, and arrived at an alarming conclusion. He wonders whether the prosecutor and judge understood the technology they were presenting and evaluating.
The only way you can actually judge whether something happened is if you have all of the information, and not only have the information, but understand the information.
Uvalde and Parkland were major local and national news headlines when Daniel's phone was confiscated by LCSO, which Peterson says explains why the images would be featured on Google and YouTube and cached on Daniel's phone. With a little detective work, he believes law enforcement would have found those images on your kid's phone, too.
Why didn't they go in there and see, well, how many kids were interested in knowing about the shooting that happened 3 days prior to this, right? How many of these other kids would have the exact same types of things on their phones? I would guess that it's close to 100%.
John Benkert is a data security strategist in Fort Myers, 20 years in intelligence with the United States Air Force, 7 at NSA, where he earned the National Scientific Achievement Award for technological innovations in data security. Benkert says judges need greater technological literacy to decide what is valid evidence and admissible.
Our legal system, we depend on jurors or judges or attorneys who aren't technically savvy. And so if you tell someone, a layman, those things, you may say, oh my gosh, 100% then he did it or she did it. But if you tell a technical person like me that, I'm going to go, well, wait a minute. You know, how was that gathered? How did they grab the information?
A question that remains unclear in Daniel's case, but Benkert says Daniel's story should inspire serious conversations with your kids about what they do on their phones, especially since you don't have easy access to their cache.
You know, you can't go into my cache, I can't go into your cache without tools and forensic tools and spending a lot of money.
But the school district has the resources and authority to do so.
My field is not into investigating phones and how they get into a phone or a computer. That's why we have the experts that we rely on to do that.
Executive Director of Safety, Security, and Emergency Management, David Newland, warns Lee Schools has a strict code of conduct. It says in part, display of weapons or inappropriate messages, pictures, or images on one's cellular phone or electronic device that cause a disruption to the safe operation of school lead to this: a consult with law enforcement. We know Daniel got more than a consult. The code is vague, offering the district and local law enforcement considerable discretion in deciding if your kids get in trouble. Benkert also cautions the cache in anyone's phone can be compromised.
You can give me your computer and I can make an exact duplicate of it. And I can then change dates on files, which people don't know that you can do. And there's no way for you or any forensic investigator to ever detect that. I can send you something that you don't even have to click on that then, you know, downloads a little file onto your phone.
Well, I reached out to the state attorney's office and sheriff's office for comment. They did not comment. So let's talk solutions. The first one, You guys are not going to like this. Experts say do not give your kids phones with unrestricted access and no rules. Now, the fact that they are commonplace in 2023 does not make them any less dangerous. I'm watching your faces. I know we've had a discussion about it because it's not easy, but you need to know. Now we know, right? You know what's going to happen in Lee County in the schools or with the sheriff's office, so they have the potential to look into the phones.
So I have a 12-year-old daughter.
Yeah.
She has a
Lovely.
phone. It's not exactly realistic to not give a phone to your child these days because you want to know where they go. How do you kind of even monitor this at all?
That's the hard part, is that you can't, because what we learned from this story is that the cache picks up just about anything. Anything that comes on YouTube, anything that comes on Google, so you can't. The one thing that you can say is just don't get in trouble.
Yeah.
You know, because you don't want people looking at the phones. We talk as journalists, right? We were just talking about the fact that what we look up on our phone when we're doing a story, it could be anything from murder to animal abuse to child abuse. What would people do with that information? I think the key is communication, right?
It's huge.
It's huge. There are things you're not going to be able to avoid, but you know, when they're carrying that in school, there's a risk.
Quick question for you, because I have a younger daughter.
Yeah.
She's 7. So we got her the Gizmo Watch, which does not allow for her to have access to the internet. She can only call, you know, her trusted contacts. Do you know if there's a cache for that kind of technology?
Okay, so for that I don't. So I'm going to call Peter San this morning so you can update your viewers. Because the thing is, if it has an app, then there's a cache.
Okay.
If this is just for the phone, because I don't know that one specifically, I will ask, because that is a good point, is you want to give them the safest tools possible, right? If you want them to be able to reach you in an emergency, that might be the right option instead of a full phone with all of the search and the internet.
And the Gizmo is a popular device for younger kids.
Yeah.
So
I'm going to get that and I'll bring that back to you.
We appreciate it. Thank you. Well, next week is when most students get to meet their teacher, tour the school, and see who's in their class. So now is probably the best time to get your child into that routine, you know, going to bed a little earlier. That starts the bedtime schedule. Remember, some kids are good with 8 hours, others might need 10 to 12. Work on the morning routine as well, getting up earlier, having that breakfast, and if you haven't already, book that physical and make sure your child knows where the bus is picking them up and dropping them off. All these little things can take a little bit of those jitters out for the first day.
And speaking of that, my son is starting kindergarten.
Yeah.
He says, I'm entering the big leagues and I'm
Big boy school.
nervous.
Yeah.
So I asked a kindergarten teacher for advice on how to help the youngest prepare. Haley Siegel says, don't stress about academics. Instead, have your child practice opening his or her water bottle, snacks, and putting on their clothes, something she even had to focus on with her son entering kindergarten last year.
They'll walk in with so much confidence when they have that independence. I know I open everything for him, but then I have to think, well, when he's by himself, he needs to know how to open this.
And she also says, get them acquainted with working on a computer or iPad because they will use it in school.
And as the new school year quickly approaches, do you still need after-school care for your kids? Maybe the Boys and Girls Club can help. The organization prides itself on being a safe place for kids to learn and grow. Wink News anchor Belinda Post got a first-hand look at the curriculum.
Parents, if you work until 6, let the good times roll at Boys and Girls Club. They have 6 locations in Lee County, right here in Fort Myers, North Fort Myers, and Lehigh Acres, plus a little further down south, this time in Bonita Springs. They'll even get the kids started on their homework. That way it takes the stress off of you.
Sure, it looks like fun and games, but Denise Gergley of the Boys and Girls Club says it's more than that.
What I would call disguised learning. So we might do STEM projects where the kids are really learning a theory or a concept.
Aiden Tsai is going into 8th grade. He and classmates are learning about thermal temperatures.
Drink be cold in the inside without feeling the coldness outside.
To make a thermos.
Tapping into engineering and science skills.
Play-Doh and cotton, and then I put it inside.
The STEM education starts with kids as young as 6, using marshmallows and toothpicks to build a structure strong enough to withstand an earthquake. The after-school program serves kids up to 18 years old. They focus on education and career, service and leadership, health and wellness, the arts, and outdoor activities.
We're really trying to model good citizens for the future.
High five. Thank you for showing me. I think it looks awesome.
Thank you.
She is so sweet. If you'd like your child to get involved with the Boys and Girls Club, I've made it easy for you. Just go to winknews.com, click news. You saw it on Wink. Go to this story. Over to you.
Still ahead, keep check of your child's health requirements before you send them off on that first day. The list of vaccines kids need. Welcome back to our back to school special, Making the Grade. And if you're putting together that to-do list, you need to check your child's health requirements.
I know, we got to get our daughter shots, and we're running out of time.
Entering middle school, right?
Well, she's going into 7th grade.
Okay.
So the state of Florida issues a list of vaccines that are needed before starting various grade levels. So in addition to the shots, you should be prepared to fill out forms if your child is taking part in sports or need medications at school. Your doctor can help with all that, but that's something you need to plan ahead for.
For, say, asthma, they need EpiPens. They should make the providers aware of that too, so that we can get the forms to the school, because they need new forms for that every year.
Now, the sports physical is another form you have to turn in every year. And as for vaccines, they are required for entry starting at pre-K. There are no new shots added to the schedule this year. So here's the base schedule for vaccines. The DTP, which protects from diphtheria, tetanus, and pertussis. The measles, mumps, and rubella shots are bundled into the MMR. The chickenpox vaccine, varicella, is not required if there is documented proof that the child previously had the illness. Now, the Tdap is what needs to be repeated by 7th grade. Proof of immunizations is required, and if you haven't started this process yet, just be prepared. Doctor appointments, they're filling up. So we put a link to the state requirements for all these shots on our website, winknews.com. Well, it's been a long process getting the Guardian program ready for Lee County schools. Coming up, what steps the district still has to take before staff members can be armed.
And some kids get excited about heading back to the classroom. Others are left feeling anxious. How you can spot feelings of anxiety in your child and set them up for greatness.
Well, for the first time, one school district is opting into the Guardian program that basically allows trained school staff members to carry guns on campus.
In May, the Lee County School Board approved the program that started after the Parkland shooting. The district says it anticipates that program to start during this school year, but it has to work out all the details still and train staff.
And in Collier County in June, the school board there moved forward with arming staff in schools. Next month, the Guardian program will go back to the school board for full approval or for them to vote against it.
Meantime, the Hendry County School District has had 5 years to really tweak the Guardian program. They launched theirs in the fall of 2018. Wink Investigates reporter Kelly Miller explains how the district's taking security up a notch this school year.
Hendry County Schools and the Hendry County Sheriff's Office agree their Guardian program is strong. Through the years, they've made some changes, but the mission's always been the same.
We're teaching our citizens how to survive incidents instead of just becoming a victim in an incident.
That's Curtis Clay, Hendry County Schools Assistant Director of School Safety and Security. He explained that initially the Guardian program was comparable to the training given to special response teams. Now it's tailored to the specific threats Guardians may face on school campuses. For example, they focus more on single officer responses to armed intruders. Also, the Guardians undergo regular firearms training.
We stress target acquisition, accuracy, knowing when to act. We don't want guns coming out for any reason. Our Guardians are only to act if it is a life-threatening active assailant situation.
In the past, administrators and faculty staff members volunteered to be Guardians in addition to their regular duties. But this year, Hendry County Schools is also introducing a dedicated Guardian position whose primary responsibility will be to prevent and respond to any potential threats. It's also important to note that the district will not release the exact number of Guardians they have. I have more details about their program on winknews.com. Back to you.
Meantime, some kids are very excited to go back to class, but others may feel pretty anxious about something new. My daughter goes through this every year, anxious about who her teacher is going to be. But the good news is we've learned that's pretty normal. It can be the new teachers, the new classrooms and classmates. Licensed Strong for Life therapist Jody Baumstein says it's normal to be anxious about starting something new, and those feelings of anxiety may look different in children than they do in adults.
If you notice that they are really fidgety or tearful, or they can't make eye contact when you are talking about school, that might be a good indicator that they're feeling some uneasiness.
Baumstein says to first figure out what's really causing the anxiety by asking open-ended questions. She also says healthy habits can help, like quality sleep, good nutrition, and being active, and teaching coping skills.
Like learning how to take really deep breaths to calm their body so that their brain is able to think clearly. or teaching them how to use their senses to bring them into the present moment.
And in the end, she says, parents, we should just make sure we don't put our own anxieties onto our children. I can tell you, be prepared to get the answer back, I'm fine, I'm fine. Also, you should keep talking with your children about school throughout the year as their feelings may change.
You're living through it, aren't you? Well, in order to get ready for the Friday Night Lights, these football players had to tackle the Florida Heat on the practice field.
We work out all summer, but it's different. When you come back for real, you know, a little bit different juices flowing.
How coaches are keeping their team safe and hydrated. Are your children playing sports this fall? Football season, it's just about here. Practices and camps are already underway.
It's dangerous with the extreme heat we're experiencing. Week News reporter Zach Oliveri went to practice to see how players are cooling off.
It's that time of year. Teams across Southwest Florida are back on the practice field for the start of fall camp. Kickoff to the high school football season is just weeks away.
We work out all summer, but it's different. When you come back for real, you know, a little bit different juices flowing.
We all have the same goals, and we're really just striving to be the best in Lee County.
It's always hot when the coaches and players at Fort Myers High begin camp, but not this hot.
We come out here in the morning, 6:30, you know, it's all nice, you know, a little bit of breeze, and then 7 o'clock hits and we're drenched sweat. My shirt's drenched, everything's drenched, so it's hot, but when you love it, you just get used to it. You don't mind coming out here.
Because of the sun, the coaches not only preach blocking and tackling, but also drinking water, lots of water.
When we get a break, I'll see kids sometimes that say, I'm not thirsty. Well, we gotta keep pounding in their mind that they gotta drink. You gotta drink almost. I use the joke, you feel like the water's coming out your ears.
Fort Myers head coach Sam Sirianni Jr. told me the team has 5 built-in water breaks, at least 20 minutes at a time. He also tells his players to rest and watch what they eat, especially once fall camp ends and the team moves their practices to after school.
You hope that, you know, we've done everything in your power to get the kids in condition, kept them hydrated, educated them on how they protect themselves from the heat, and then, you know, we will be very cautious like we always are.
Because beating the heat now could lead to a winning season later. Zach Oliveri, Wink News.
Fort Myers High School opens the season August 24th against rival North Fort Myers.
Thanks so much for joining us in this special Back to School with Wink Making the Grade. If you missed any of this, a reminder that it will be in its entirety on winknews.com.
And if your child's anxious about the new school year, just tell them to take deep breaths. It's going to be okay. It's going to be good to get them back in school.